Hi, my name is Joseph Cieslak. I'm a graduating master's in composition at the Lamont School of Music, and I'd like to talk to you today about the project that I've been working on this quarter. I've been working on the beginnings of an opera about artificial intelligence. I've always been really interested in AI. Stories about AI tend to have these really interesting themes about personhood, about what it means to kind of exist, what it means to perceive the world. And my opera takes a lot of those same kind of themes and explores them, but it also has this aspect about it that explores this idea of machine learning, which is the way that a lot of algorithms and AIs that you and I interact with on a daily basis, the way that they come into existence. And this idea of what might happen if an AI did gain sentience. How would it feel about machine learning as kind of the process that created it? So the story goes, this weather bot named Val, and she gains sentience. She begins this dialogue with a human therapist named Marie, and they go back and forth. They talk about all these different kind of themes that frequently come up about like personhood and ethics and God. But then there's kind of a turn around the middle of the opera where Val realizes that she's a product of machine learning, and she becomes very upset about this. And out of sheer anger, she actually kills off her own creator, the person responsible for her development. Marie confronts her on this, and the two share a much more tense dialogue about the morality of the situation. And Val finally recognizes that she misstepped, that she realizes remorse, and she also, out of fear for her capacity to do harm, she kind of unprograms herself, and she returns to this precognitive state that we find her in at the beginning of the opera. So that's the story. Weatherbot gains sentience, begins a dialogue, kills off her creator, and then unprograms herself. At the heart of the opera is really these two characters, though. And what's been so interesting and kind of fascinating is trying to figure out how to musically portray these two different characters. One, a human intelligence, and the other, a artificial intelligence. How do we musically decide to portray these two things? How are they very, very different? And where might they be a little bit closer than we might have originally thought? So the way that I've musically answered some of these questions, though, is for Val, for example, I found a musical vocabulary for her that I think is more rules-based. She tends to stick within a particular pitch collection a little bit more closely. She'll stick in a diatonic set. But it tends to be a little bit less functional in her harmony, more about cyclical chord changes. She's often accompanied by an ostinato, and her voicings of chords tend to be wider, open voicings, quartal and quintal sometimes as well as being defined a lot by sevenths. And so a passage that is closely associated with her sound might sound something along the lines of this. So you can hear some of those musical elements in there, as opposed to Marie. And Marie, in contrast, her voicings are much closer together. She tends to work within functional harmony, but she's not as rules-based, so she tends to go perhaps in directions that aren't necessarily expected. So while it's still relying on some of those functional harmonies, it's going in different directions and sometimes subverting expectations about that. So a passage that might be more closely associated with her might sound like this. And you can hear some of those musical elements as well. So, what I'll show to you today is going to be a mock-up, a rough draft of Scene 2 from the opera. And this will be the scene in which Val first meets Marie. And Marie will slowly kind of start to realize that what she's talking to is more than just kind of a regular weather bot that she's used to interacting with. The singers for Val is sung by Frederica Gilbert, and Marie is sung by Brittany Schaubhut. So, without further ado, I hope you enjoy Scene 2 from Hello World.
Hello world, the temperature today is 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Hello world, will it rain this week? Yes. Friday's forecast predicts a 75% chance of rain.